everyone. Welcome to Wager Talk. My name is Minty, and I'm joined by Bruce Marshall at Bruce A. Marshall on Twitter, and Gianni the Greek at Greek_Gambler. This Saturday, we've got Penn State at Ohio State. Today's Penn State at Ohio State video is brought to you by the Gold Sheet, the nation's longest-running sports betting publication. All right, guys, this week, Penn State at Ohio State. Penn State is a one-loss team. They're a double-digit dog against Ohio State. I mean, do you think out of all Ohio State's opponents, Penn State might actually win? They have a good chance of winning against Ohio State? Bruce?
Well, I am old enough to remember Ohio State 1969, which was the best college team I thought I ever saw. And they went into the last game at Michigan and lost. So don't tell me Ohio State can't lose a game. I'm not saying it's going to happen this week, but it's happened before. Listen, this is as good a time as any to remind people why you read the Gold Sheet, because I go around town here a lot, and I hear a lot of people just looking at numbers and looking at point spreads. That has to connect to something, and this is where the Gold Sheet comes in handy. You really need a working knowledge of what it is you're talking about here and what these numbers connect to. It's just like an economist. You talk about the gross domestic product or the CPI or something. You have to have some underlying understanding of the industry and the business. I used to be in the financial world and in the brokerage business, and there were industry analysts. Yeah, they had numbers on things, but blasted, if you went and you talked to one of these guys about the airline industry, about the oil industry, the textiles, whatever, they knew everything about the business and the industry, business trends, management, history, and all that, production numbers. I mean, it all comes into something. That's what the Gold Sheet does. We give you this to give you a working knowledge of the teams, and we give you all the tools here, point spread records, history, point spread logs, and things like that. And you got to know what's going on with these teams. What's going on with these teams here? Can Penn State, now this is what it comes down to. You got to look at a number and say, I think that's too big.
Right.
I think this one's too big.
Yeah.
Penn State has played these guys to the hilt the last 3 years. They've covered the last 3 games. There's been 5 points separating these teams the last 3 meetings. And last year, and Penn State covered all of those. Now, I would want to make sure that KJ Hamler, their best receiver, is available here. But Sean Clifford has been good enough this year. He's only had 1 game where he really had some flaws. That was the Minnesota game where he threw 3 picks. So he's had a year under his belt. James Franklin has covered 6 of his last 7 as a dog. They can play with Ohio State. I want to see what Ohio State does when it really gets challenged here. I know they've been running over. They look like an NHL team on a 5-on-3 power play. Yeah. I want to see when they really get challenged here. Ryan Day hasn't won anything yet. And Franklin, plus all these points, they can stay close. Ain't going to win? I don't think so. But stay close? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I like it. Yanni.
Personally, I don't think that Penn State's going to go into Ohio State and beat them. In fact, we've seen Ohio State allow 2 teams to score more than 14 points against them. Week 1 against Florida Atlantic and just last week against Rutgers. What did both those teams have in common? Neither of them posed any threat to Ohio State. Again, Penn State does. They played them tough 3 straight years. Ohio State knows Penn State's coming in there believing they could beat that team. Unfortunately for Penn State, they just don't have the personnel to get that done. It looks like there's value on the Penn State side, an 8-1 team catching that many, but I believe the power ratings actually do reflect Ohio State should be around a 3-touchdown favorite in this spot. So I don't think there's enough line value to take Penn State. I think the situation, I think the history, I think the trends all point to Penn State, but this is 2019, and this Ohio State team, at least on paper, should be a 20-point favorite against Penn State, kind of like where they're sitting right now. We saw the total get steamed up from 55 to 57, 58.5. I think that's just this betting syndicates getting out ahead of the market. Public's going to bet this game over. Line should continue to climb. They may set themselves up with a nice big middle there. I haven't bet the game, but if I was forced to, I would take the better team. I think it's Ohio State or leave the game alone. I think it's going to be a great game to watch.
Oh, thank you, guys. Get the nation's longest-running sports betting publication, The Gold Sheet, for just $9. You'll receive detailed analysis, write-ups, stats, and more on every college and pro game this week. Download The Gold Sheet now at wagertalk.com or sportsmemo.com.